Okay, let's begin another cruise now, shall we? Right now we are traveling southbound on Pennsylvania State Route 65, which is Ohio River Boulevard. Or in the lingua of Pittsburghers, we are traveling inbound on Ohio River Boulevard. But Ohio River Boulevard is not going to be our cruise. We did this road a couple years ago back in the summer of 2016. Instead, our destination for this cruise is the Greenbelt, which begins right up ahead at Camp Horne Road. Let me emphasize real quickly that the belt system, the way it's currently laid out, has no official mileage markers or counting system. But I must say I believe it would be beneficial if the County Works Department adopted such a system. I have simply chosen to use Ohio River Boulevard as my de facto mile zero, simply because every single one of our belts touches Ohio River Boulevard. If you look at a map of the belt system, of which there are 5 of, 6 if you include the purple belt in downtown Pittsburgh, if you look at the 5 regular belts, 2 of them, the blue and the yellow, are a complete circle. One of them, the orange belt, used to be a complete circle, and hopefully it will be again, but that can be addressed in some other cruise. What the blue, yellow, and orange belts all have in common is that they all cross Ohio River Boulevard. Likewise, the other 2 belts that are not complete circles, the green belt, which we're on, and the red belt, both share Ohio River Boulevard as their westernmost terminus. And of course, Ohio River Boulevard represents a great connection from Beaver County to downtown Pittsburgh. Therefore, Ohio River Boulevard represents the perfect mile zero for all the belts. And of course, these belts do not go any specific direction, north, south, east, or west. Therefore, the way to determine your directional travel is clockwise versus counterclockwise. Now, what these belts are supposed to represent is a loop around the city. Basically, they work as designated highways, but using colors instead of numbers. To answer the question as to why they exist, let me start by pointing out why they do not exist. They don't really exist to try to confuse people or to help people get lost. Obviously, with Pittsburgh's topography, people don't need much help when it comes to getting lost around here. What the belts are supposed to do is help you navigate a circuitous route around the city and find your way connecting to highways that will take you either to or from the city, such as Ohio River Boulevard, for instance. Right now, we are only about 1.5 miles into our cruise on the Greenbelt Clockwise. But I hope you've already got an idea on how these belts can be put to good use. So far, our cruise is what you would not necessarily describe as rural, but not quite exactly even suburban. Maybe it's been suburban-like in some ways, but in many ways this is like an atmosphere between suburban and rural. But just up ahead at about mile 2.1, we will be at the entrance to I-279 South, an expressway which provides a very good link into downtown Pittsburgh. Of course, we'll just continue our cruise on the Greenbelt and maybe try putting on the radio to see if there's anything to listen to.
We had a parade. Tens of thousands turned out downtown for one of the biggest Labor Day parades in the nation. Hey, stories and more coming up at 3:30. Humor that sounds familiar to me and hopefully makes sense to you. As a cowboy would put it, generally speaking, fancy titles and nightshirts are a waste of time. Good judgment comes from experience, and a lot of experience comes from bad judgment. If your mind's not made up, don't use your spurs. Letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back. Never ask a barber if he thinks you need a haircut. Never miss a good chance to shut up. Never squat with your spurs on. No matter how you put it, some things just ain't funny. The easiest way to eat crow is while it's still warm. The colder it gets, the harder it is to swallow. The quickest way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back in your pocket. There are two theories to arguing with a woman. Neither one works. Trust everybody in the game, but always cut the cards. And finally, timing has a lot to do with the outcome of a rain dance. Little cowboy wisdom and humor. Until next time, this is Jack Bogut. A Moment with Jack Bogut, presented by the Troyani family of Properties. For more Jack Bogut moments, log on to storytellerchat.com. Information. Radio 1020 KK is the afternoon news. John McIntyre in for Robert Mangino.
Well, it looks like the radio signal out in this atmosphere is rather scratchy. Maybe because of the valleys we've had to drive through, I don't know. But let's just turn the radio off and maybe talk a little bit more about the belt system. When the system was laid out in the late 40s, of course they could have given these belts numbers, but maybe they figured that giving them numbers would create too much confusion with the Pennsylvania state highway system, such as Pennsylvania 65, 51, and 88, and the U.S. highway system, such as Route 19, 22, and 30. Speaking of Route 19, US 19 that is, there is a shortcut to southbound Route 19 or inbound Route 19 if we were only to make a right turn at Rochester Road ahead. But of course we are just going to keep following the Greenbelt, and the Greenbelt makes a left turn onto Rochester Road before also making a quick right turn onto Sewickly-Oakmont Road. But the Greenbelt Clockwise will also take us to Route 19. This county belt system was developed in the late 1940s by Joseph White, who was an engineer with the County Department of Public Works. It was intended as a wayfarer system using a network of roads to offer commuters alternative traffic patterns that do not lead to downtown Pittsburgh. Instead, this traffic pattern was intended to take you around the city and lead you to and from the major arteries, which take you to and from the city. It's important to remember that these belts were not intended to be used as high-speed routes. Rather, this system is to be used as a navigational aid for motorists in unfamiliar portions of the county. And for me, that would be out here in the North Hills for sure. In fact, to this day, most of the belts generally follow secondary routes, with a few exceptions, of course. For instance, the yellow belt follows I-79 for a little bit, and the blue belt, green belt follow the 28 expressway for a little bit, but for the most part these belts are still on secondary routes. Some are 2 lanes in each direction, but many are just 1 lane in each direction. Now, thus far on this cruise, I hope I have done at least a fairly decent job of demonstrating just what purpose this belt system plays and how it can be put to good use. I mean, so far we've had a rather scenic cruise along secondary roads, but we're really not that far from the city of Pittsburgh here. And what this cruise has done is it has connected us with major arteries or spokes that would take us into downtown Pittsburgh. We started at Ohio River Boulevard, we came to Interstate 279, and right up ahead is another major spoke, and that is US Route 19, the Perry Highway. I'd just like to point out real quickly that here on Route 19 at mile 4.9, we are more than 400 feet above sea level higher than we were at mile 0 back in Emsworth. Now, as you have just seen, after a brief run on Route 19, the Greenbelt Clockwise makes that quick left turn on the 3-degree road. And here we will continue to McKnight Road, which is about another mile. McKnight Road is what is known as Truck Route 19. You probably won't be too surprised if I were to say that before I-279 opened in the late 1980s, Route 19, McKnight Road, and Pennsylvania State Route 8, which is still a ways up ahead, they were the primary routes between downtown Pittsburgh and the North Hills. Now, I wanted to explain quickly that in the unusual ways that Pennsylvania does things, there are 2 Route 19s out here in the North Hills, just like there are in the South Hills. But usually what you find when there's 2 highways of the same number is like US Route 30 and Business Route 30. In this case, what we have is regular US Route 19, which is the Perry Highway, and up ahead is McKnight Road, which is Truck 19, meaning that at this point trucks are not supposed to use the regular Route 19. And now I'd just like to add quickly, these first 6 miles or so of the Greenbelt Clockwise is really the most practical part of the Greenbelt. I mean, in just 6 miles we have connected along secondary roads that most people would not be familiar with: Ohio River Boulevard, I-279, Route 19, and just ahead McKnight Road, Truck Route 19.